Hey everybody, how we doing today? So we are coming on towards the end of August, and what that means is that we're hitting our kind of a slow season for tourism here in the Keys. What that means to me is that I get a little bit of free time to catch up on stuff. So couple of my priorities is to work on my vehicles, since I've been neglecting them and just kind of patch repairing them, trying to get through the busy times. But we're to the point where I need to get some stuff fixed. So today we are going to be focusing on the motorcycle, since that is basically my daily driver around the island. It's perfect fit because I can get on the highways no problems, but then parking's easy, getting around is easy, doesn't burn gas, and it's a lot easier since I'm not hauling anything. Running daily to the post offices, going to the grocery store, going to Home Depot, whatnot. It just makes things so much easier having that motorcycle. It's actually been down for a week. My battery had died on it, and a battery that was supposed to be here in 3 days took 7 days, and that happens to be the way things work. But yeah, it really sucked not having that and having to drive my car whenever I want to do some quick errands. But we're going to focus today on fixing the motorcycle. Tons of stuff that I need to do to it. So I'm going to take you guys along with me and do a little bit of wrenching. So that's the plan.
All right, today is motorcycle repair day. We're going to work on changing the chains, rear sprocket, front sprocket. They're in dire need. You can hear it. Hear that pop? Pop. Pop. So there's definitely a bad link there, but this is an old chain, so it's got to go. But we got to take off this rear section. I'm going to leave the swing arms, take this plastic off so I can get to it. Side plate, so I have to remove the rear wheel because we're changing the rear sprocket. But yeah, not a horrible job, but not a fun job. I'm going to start off by just taking this plastic piece off, just so I have a little bit more working room. Go ahead and take this cover off as well. This just covers the front sprocket. And there's our front sprocket. Ready to come out. At first I gotta straighten out this washer. Ooh, that was easy. Sweet. There's our front sprocket. Get it out, get it out. I just want to look at it. Yep. Them teeth are definitely pointy. Next off, we're going to take the shaft out that the rear wheel runs on. All right, holding that on one side. Doing this at a bad angle. All right, came off. Got a little washer here. These I'm going to have to loosen up so I could push the sprocket forward. As you can see right now, this is your adjustment distance that you can tighten the chain up. So what I'm going to want to do is loosen it up so I can push it all the way forward. That'll make it easier for when I put the new chain on. Alright, so this one is the clip for the chain that holds the chain together, so I could separate it. So this outside is the U with a couple of teeth on each side and hollow in the center. So I just need to pop it out and pull it off, and then this pin will come out and that'll separate the chain. Oops. Alright, that came off. The O-rings. And then this clip slides out from the back, and then our chain is separated. There we go. And if I remember right, this is just held on by a rubber sprocket hub. Yeah, there we go. This is what the rear sprocket bolts to, and then there's this rubber kind of gasket thing, but I'll leave that in there. That comes out, and that's where this slots into. but this is all we need here. So I just need to unbolt these and then put the new sprocket on. All right, so here is my chain, rear sprocket, front sprocket. I paid, I think, $90 for a kit. An average name brand one runs around $200. So we're just gonna test out, see how these Amazon Chinese ones make. I mean, they're not like new technology or anything. This bike is a 1997, so we'll see what we can do. But let me match up this rear sprocket, make sure that's right, match up the front sprocket, and then start putting it back together again. All right, and this will get inserted. All right, that is done. All right, we're gonna work to the front socket here. We've got the new replacement. All right, we've got our new chain, our new link there. O-rings, the clip. How is that held on? I hope it's a snap. I don't see the snap. All right, well, we'll get there when we get there. So let me wind this chain on, and then we can start putting the back together. All right, there we go. Now we got to start putting the wheel back on. One of the things that I've never had on this bike is a chain roller. There's spots for them, I just never put one on. There's an upper and a lower down there, or actually you can see it right there. But I think what I'll do is I'll take the bolt out, get measurements, and then I could add them later. So we'll do that now. All right, we just gotta roll it in. Roll it in. There we go. That stays in there. Squared up. All right, I've got it lined up. It's inside the brake pads there. So I'm gonna put this bushing in. These go on this side. This bushing goes in the rim. There. That goes there. All right, so we're smooth. Now I could put the stud in here. And then it's got to go through the caliper. It's got to come back a bit. There's the caliper. And once I see it coming through the caliper, then I've got to lift the wheel. Oh, it was in there. All right, so I'm right up to the edge. So now I have to lift the rim hole up to that hole, and then I could push the shaft through. And I need to try to keep this type parallel as well. All right, running smooth, going through the brake caliper, no problem. All right, now I can put the chain on, and then we're gonna go for the gold. All right, so in order to get enough slack to get my chain to link together, I need to loosen these adjusters up so the axle slides. I could jam the axle as far up as possible, and that'll get me closer between the two sprockets, which means I'll get it closer to the chain links. Then once I have the chain links on, then I could pull it back out and put enough tension on, or how much tension I want. So there's Allen head there, and that's for the adjusters. Get these to mount right there. Get it to the middle point, and then now it's ready for the connector there. You can see how much slack we have there. All right, let me get that link. All right, that's on there. Then get O-ring, backing plate. And this is the hard part. You gotta sandwich this, compress those two, and then our clip goes on and snaps into it. Or actually it'll go this way, because you want the solid side going towards the front. As your chain goes forward, you want the solid to go front and the open clip part to be in the back. Just snap it down. There we go. And that is snapped on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some gasket glue and just cover this just to make sure that that doesn't pop off. That went on pretty easy, but should be solid. All right, now that we know we got the rear set up, I'm going to go ahead and do the front sprocket. What I have to do with this is to put some Loctite on it before I torque it down. All right, let's torque it down. Hold the brake. The cover has three Phillips heads there. This one's hidden behind the brake pedal, so you got to kind of push it down. Now we could start tightening this up. You can see as it starts pulling it back. And we want to do it equal amounts, but I'm just going to take the slack out of it. Okay. Then now we could start measuring. Right through there is a number, so I can use this number to match that other number plus the amount of tension that we've got on here. All right, we're set at right around 5.5 on that side and 5.5 on that side. So I'm going to lock this down, tighten those, and that'll lock it in place. All right, we're all put back together again. I forgot I didn't do the brake fluid, but should be okay. I just gotta take that cover off and then the cylinder's right behind it. All right, let me drop this guy, take it for a test drive. Next up is the long overdue oil change. First, we've got to take off this belly pan, and then there's two oil containment parts up on top, and then the main oil reserve on the bottom. So we got to do two different ones. The belly plate is off. That will allow us to get to the frame drain right there, and then the actual oil case drain right there. And then the filter is behind this. 10 millimeter for the top one. Whoa! Missed the hole. There we go. This oil change is about 2 years overdue, so. Ooh, lots of oil coming out. Lots of oil. Smells okay. Looks okay. Next, we're gonna hit the lower drain. And that should get the rest of the oil out. There it goes. More oil, more oil. Next up, we remove the oil filter. And that cap here has an O-ring on it. That I have, so I need to replace that. And this oil filter just scooches out. I might need to get a little pry tool and pop that out. Ugh, yeah, I need a pry tool. And this is what the filter looks like. Pretty easy, just slips on there. Well, I see a few little shiny things. That might just be dust in the sun. Alright. Let's get the new filter and the new O-ring on, and then we can start putting this guy back together again. Alright, we have our new filter. I put the O-ring on already, and now we just need to assemble. Everything goes back in just the reverse order, so not too difficult. Alright, so everything's drained, everything's put back together. Got the skid plate on, fixed one of the missing nuts there. My shift lever pedal was loose and was about ready to fall off, so glad I caught that. Now we just need to do a little bit of glug. I'm using Lucas motorcycle oil 20, weight 50. I'm in strictly hot weather conditions, so a little bit thinner oil is okay for this guy. So here's the filler right there and the engine level. So let me drop 2 quarts in, and then we're just going to little by little until it's full. All right, time for some glug glug. I'm gonna put in 1 quart, and then I'm just gonna let it sit there to make sure that it's not like pouring out underneath the motorcycle or leaking. The only thing I didn't do is not replace the aluminum crush washers, but I think they should be okay. No leakage. All right, let me get this guy filled up, and then we'll give it a test fire. All right, filled it up with oil. I've got about 2.5 quarts in there. That gets me to the middle of the fill line. I usually take a couple of different checks, whether it's straight up on the stand, on the kickstand, and just try to average it out to make sure that it's still within the range. I like to go from either the half marks to full, and I call that good enough. I did mess up a bit, is I put 1 quart in, it was okay, put the funnel back in, put the 2nd quart and just stuck it in the funnel and walked away. Came back and it was just pouring out of the nozzle here. Basically because it's multiple chambered, I had to fire it up, let that oil start circulating, and then I could fill it back up until it was full. So I've done a couple of starts, let it run, shut it down, check the oil, fill it. So we are good there. Now we can move on to the next project. Next up is 4 problems that I had to resolve kind of emergency basis, but it's due to one specific issue, and that is one part I always talk about is being here in the Keys, anything metal rusts, get corrosion on any type of metal, even aluminum will start corroding, or steel will rust. Well, the other thing is that anything plastic will dry out, get brittle and crack. So one issue that I have is my fuel tank O-ring gasket has gotten hard, brittle, cracked, and now it allows water to get into the gas tank, especially when it rains. So that's caused 4 separate issues that I've had to resolve. Basically what happens is rains, gets in the gas tank, water is heavier than gas, so water sinks to the bottom. The lowest portion of a gas tank is actually the reserve section. So on motorcycles like this, you have your standard tank, but when that runs out, it'll start stuttering like it's gonna die, but you can kick it over to the reserve tank, which is just a different section out area there, and then it gives you another 20-30 miles to get to a gas station and get more gas. Well, the problem with that rainwater is that seeps down and gets to that fills up that reserve tank area. So as I'm driving along, it starts stuttering like it's out of gas. I reach down, I usually can go to my reserve, and I know I've got 20-30 miles to get to a gas station. But when there's water in there, as soon as I turn it, that water goes through the system, and then it basically just kills the bike. Won't start because it's got a mixture of fuel and water in there. Sometimes I can get lucky. I could drain the float bowls and try to get as much of the water out as possible, and then turn it back on, and then try to fire it up. If I can get it to idle, it still has to burn through whatever water is in the system, and if I can keep it running long enough, I could burn it through, and then it'll run again, and then I can get to the gas station. This last time there, I keep starting it, it'll start, but they'll die, and I'll do it again, start, and it'll die because there's still that water in there, and I couldn't get it to idle long enough to burn it out, and killed the battery. And when I mean I killed the battery, because I've done it so many times that that battery runs so low it won't take a charge, and it had a bad cell in it, so I had to get a new battery, so I swapped that out. Now, one good thing to come out with the battery issue, this is my motorcycle battery. This is actually the battery that I use to power my fish finder GPS system. But what I learned is that this bigger 12 amp hour, this is 7 amp hour,
this 12 amp hour that I use my motorcycle will actually fit in my little dry box that I usually have these in. So what I think I'm going to do is this is the dead one. I tried to revive it, but it wouldn't take a charge. But what I could do is get another one of these, make that my fish finder battery, and I'll go from 7 amp hours to 12 amp hours. But also is that I'll always have a spare motorcycle battery on hand in case I run into that problem again. I could just swap out the battery and then throw one on the charger. So I think that's what I'm going to do. These are only like 50 bucks, and that'll work out perfectly. So that's one good thing to come out of this whole mess. So after the battery died, then I was stuck, so I had to push the bike about a mile or two from where it died all the way back home. Got another battery. Then I went ahead and did a full tank drain because I couldn't get it to stay running, so by just draining the float bowls. So I actually pulled it and drained the tank as much as possible, put it back on, got it to fire, took it to the gas station with what little gas I had left, and then I couldn't open my gas filler tank. And the reason why is because water, corrosion, Florida sun, salt water corroded the inside of this mechanism, so I couldn't open the tank with my key on there. And I kept trying and trying, and I can't get gas in it, then I'd have to push it home. So I forced it and then broke the key off. So now I don't have the key for that, couldn't open it. But what I've done before is you could take out these bolts, but you can't take this gas tank housing off because there's a bolt on the inside of this that's bolted right there that won't allow you to take this mechanism out unless you take that bolt off. So I drilled a hole, got in there, took that bolt out, and then I was able to take this off. And then I tried to fix it, but I've done it before and not able to. So not being able to get the gas tank is not good, but I came up with a good solution there. Got my cool patio workshop and built this little switch here. So pushes it down, slide it over, and it's locked. So resolved it by doing that. And now I prefer that over that because I think I've gone to the gas station about 3 times where I couldn't turn it anymore because it was so full of corrosion that I couldn't open it. Then I would take it out, I'd put it in my sonic cleaner, all this sandy corrosion would come out and free it up, WD-40 it, it'd work for a little while again, and then one day I'll go to the gas station and the key wouldn't work. That's kind of the reason why I broke the key, is I was so pissed off. I was just forcing it and broke it. But that resolved that. But then I don't have a key anymore, so I can't start the bike. Alright, so there's no key to turn the ignition on here. It's kind of screwed there. So I did a hot wire setup, so you can see here. So I spliced it into the ignition there between the battery and then to the hot main. So now I have a switch. I've got a key switch and a switch, so I could actually turn the bike on and off through here. And I bypassed that key there and got all the electronics working, so that fixed that. So that's what we've been up to with this part of it. Now my brand new batteries right there, and yeah, all because of a little rain. Oh, I did resolve this issue by getting a Home Depot 5-gallon bucket lid, and I just stick it on top of there and put a rock on top of that every time I park it at nighttime, and then that resolves that problem. And that brings us to the last project I'm going to be working on. Is I'm recovering this seat right now. As you can kind of see, it looks kind of funky, like a motocross seat that goes straight across, but it's actually supposed to be contoured down there. But I've got a new cover that I've just put on, and I'm just kind of mold fitting right now. The sun just bakes these, they get cracks in them and holes in them. And then when you sit on it, because the underlip part is basically just foam, when it rains, it gets through those cracks, absorbs it into the foam, and then as soon as you sit down, it just squirts it all up into your butt, and you'd have a wet butt. So wanted a new cover, so I put the initial cover set there, but now I've been riding it, and then it form fits it, but now I have to go back and then start tightening it up. So we're going to do that now. All right, let's finish covering this seat. Do this fairly often, probably every 2 to 3 years I need to do it, because this is just some cheap imitation vinyl wrap stuff. I usually just get this sheet, and then it comes with push pins, and that's all you need. So all you do is you could take off your other cover, and I'm going right over my existing cover, but you can see how it's just put in there with these push pins. I don't have a lot in there right now, especially in the middle, is because I knew that I'm gonna have to come back to retighten this area up. You can see how much more it needs to be tightened to form fit it. It's just not possible to stretch it to fit with just one fitting. So I find it works better to do about 2 or 3 at a time. Just get it fit, ride on it, keep it out in the sun. It'll stretch in the areas that you're sitting that needs to be stretched, and then you get all this flimsiness there, and then you just take that by tightening it, taking these push pins out and retightening it again, and then just do that a couple times, and then it'll be fully form fitted. So let's go through that right now. Now the way I start it is the longer section here doesn't really need to be stretched out. Is strictly the side here, this pocket area here. So when I start it is I usually just start the front and then pull it back and then do the back, and then the center part, because it's going to stretch out, is not very important. So I've got these done a little heavier because they're really not going to move. It's just this inside panels here. So that'll get it started, and then once it's stretched out, we're going to go through like we're going to do now, is pop off some of these thumb pins, and this is all they are, which will allow you to, you can see my old one's still there, pull it across, and the frame is just plastic, so you can just kind of, it's hard, but you can force the thumbtacks in there. So I'm going to get one more thumbtack here, since I'm going to start doing this a little bit more permanent in here, and do a couple of them here, and then do the same thing to this side. All right, see there, stretched it in. I put a few more of the thumbnails in there. That's going to hold that. So now I just got to do the same thing with this side. All right, there you go. Did a second stretch on it. You can see how much better it's gotten. Still has a ways to go before it's form fitted there. But again, just some time out in the sun, me riding it, and then it's going to stretch where it needs to stretch. Places where it doesn't need to stretch, it's going to stay the same. And then I'll probably do maybe 1 or 2 more adjustments, and then this thing will be perfectly form fitted. But yeah, that's good. Just takes a couple minutes, but there we go. Now my butt's not going to get wet. There you go. Now that seat's looking much better. A little bit more stretching and it'll be perfect.
Rogue nicotine pouches are just $3.49 plus tax when you buy 2 or more. Go Rogue and save. A storm has arrived at Circle K. Come inside for a Gatorade Lightning Blast and Mountain Dew Purple Thunder.
Next up is this mess. Oh no.